Welcome to Astrology Unpacked. I'm Deborah Clement, and today's topic is the partial lunar eclipse at 4 degrees 54 minutes of Pisces that takes place on August 27th or 28th, depending upon where you live. Now, a partial eclipse isn't as powerful as a total eclipse, but you shouldn't underestimate it, and especially not if it happens to make a tight connection to a planet or a sensitive point in your birth chart. Since a lunar eclipse takes place during a full moon, it's associated with bringing things to fruition as well as endings. And those endings tend to be final, and they often come by way of a decision. It might be yours, it might be someone else's. But the big difference between a full moon and a lunar eclipse is in their energy. A lunar eclipse is much more powerful, so it's much more likely to coincide with a major turning point or even a life-changing event. And in this case, there's a lot more fuel being added to that fire because this eclipse is making a very tight square to Uranus, which means something could end with a bang. The other thing is that eclipses also have an almost Uranian quality to them. They can bring unexpected events that turn out to be the miracle you need or the blind side you never saw coming. So let's talk about what we might expect from this one. During this eclipse, the moon is in Pisces and the sun is in Virgo. And these two signs approach things very differently. While Pisces is intuitive, Virgo is analytical. Pisces knows when to surrender. Virgo wants to keep control. Virgo can be too hard on itself. Pisces can be too easy on itself. So this eclipse may show you where you need to cut yourself a break, or maybe where you need to stop giving yourself a pass. It may also show you where you need to have more faith, or where you need to stop kidding yourself. And finally, this eclipse can bring an internal conflict to a head over how you feel about something versus what you know you need to do about it. So now that we've talked about the general themes of this eclipse, let's look at the aspects because they're going to tell us a lot more about how it's likely to play out. Now, besides the sun and the moon, both Mercury and Uranus are directly involved in this eclipse. Mercury is conjunct the sun in Virgo, so it's also opposing the moon. This adds another layer of tension between how you feel and what you think. And then there's Uranus, the focal point of a challenging planetary pattern that drives up the tension. Now, all eclipses are inflammatory, but with Uranus involved, the voltage can go off the charts. And keep in mind, Uranus itself is a planet of change, so it adds another element of change to an eclipse that already has the potential to bring a major turning point. So let's break down the most important aspects. The moon square Uranus, the sun square Uranus, and Mercury square Uranus. So starting with the moon square Uranus is a highly charged energy that can coincide with an emotional upset, or conversely, emotional liberation. It can also coincide with unexpected events connected to your home, your family, or the women in your life. The sun square Uranus can bring an unexpected turn of events that challenges your ego. It can also coincide with a radical or urgent desire for freedom. Now, Mercury square Uranus can bring unexpected or even shocking news. It can also coincide with a disruption in travel, and it is an anxiety-producing energy and one that can promote jumping to conclusions or making snap decisions. On the upside, it can coincide with a sudden flash of insight or a brilliant idea. So as you can see, there are a lot of different ways this energy can play out, but the underlying theme is change and unpredictability, which means that things may not happen the way you expect. Now, before we get into what this eclipse may mean for you, I want to take a minute to talk about some high-profile people in the news. Eclipses are associated with the passing of prominent individuals, or in some cases, a fall from power. Now, in the past 5 days, Shelley Fabares, Dolly Parton, and Tim Curry have all passed away. Personally, I'm also keeping my eye on the news about Mitch McConnell. Now, he's been out of the public eye for months following a health scare, and his natal sun is at 1 degree of Pisces. The eclipse degree is past it, but it's still going to get some of that energy. And with Uranus tightly square the eclipse, I wouldn't be surprised if we do hear some unexpected or even shocking news about him. Speaking for myself, if he showed up back at work, that would certainly shock me. So also, I have my eye on the closing arguments in the Lindsay Clancy case because given the square from Uranus, I'm curious to see if there's going to be a shocking verdict, a hung jury, or some other type of unforeseen development. What's especially interesting to me is that the recent solar eclipse on August 12th made a conjunction to Lindsay Clancy's sun. Now, back in 2011, the Cancer solar eclipse made a conjunction to Casey Anthony's moon, and she was found not guilty. Now, in that case, the eclipse to her moon triggered a kite pattern in her chart, and a kite features a grand trine, and she was acquitted. In Lindsay's case, the recent solar eclipse probably trined her moon, but it definitely triggered the T-square in her chart, where her sun is the focal point of a Mars-Pluto opposition. Now, Jupiter is on its way to conjunct her sun, so if the deliberations take a while, it could help her. But given the nature of the eclipse and the timing of the deliberations, I'm really watching to see if the eclipses coincide with any type of shocking news. Okay, so enough about people and the public. Let's talk about where this eclipse may show up in your life. So before we go sign by sign, keep in mind that if you have a planet, a house cusp, or a sensitive point at or near 4 degrees of Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius, you are more likely to experience the eclipse in a significant way and more likely to experience an eclipse-related event. For the most accurate forecast, listen to your rising sign, or depending on the house system you use, the house that holds 4 degrees Pisces. If you don't know your rising sign or where 4 degrees Pisces falls in your chart, then listen to your sun sign. And also, if you don't know how to read your birth chart, I will be teaching a class on how to do so in October. Registration is going to open in September, and you'll find all the details at deborahclementastrology.com. So let's get started. If you are Aries rising or you have 4 degrees of Pisces in your 12th house, something you weren't aware of may come to light now. And with Uranus involved, it may take you completely by surprise. You could get an inside scoop that gives you an edge over the competition, or you could learn that someone you thought was supportive has actually been gossiping about you behind your back. This eclipse could also reveal a talent or ability you didn't realize you had, and you could feel inspired to develop it further. Since this eclipse falls across your 6th and 12th houses, a connection between something you've been dealing with emotionally and something you're experiencing physically could come to light. If you're Taurus rising or you have 4 degrees of Pisces in your 11th house, something you've been hoping for may finally happen now. With Uranus involved, it could come completely out of left field. If you're active on social media or have any type of audience, something you post could suddenly go viral. And depending on the content, though, you could find yourself at the center of a controversy. Since this eclipse falls across your 5th and 11th houses, you may reach a point where you decide to leave one group behind and become involved with another that shares more of your interests and passions. If you're Gemini rising or have 4 degrees of Pisces in your 10th house, you could experience a major change in your career or status. And with Uranus involved, it may happen suddenly or take you completely by surprise. This could be a promotion or a dismissal, or you may learn that your boss is leaving or that your company is undergoing a merger or reorganization. Your personal status could change as well. You could get engaged, married, become a parent, a homeowner, or you could break up with someone or get divorced. Since this eclipse falls across your 4th and 10th houses, tension between your home life and your career could reach a boiling point, and it could force you to make some hard choices about where you really need to put your time and attention now. If you're Cancer rising or you have 4 degrees of Pisces in your ninth house, well, if you've been waiting for a passport, visa, or other travel related documents, or if you've been waiting for a judge to finalize a divorce, an adoption, or some other type of legal matter, this eclipse could bring it. An opportunity to take a trip could suddenly be changed or canceled. Since this eclipse falls across your third and ninth houses, information could suddenly come to light that leads you to make an important decision, sign a contract, or perhaps even back out of one. If you're Leo rising, or you have 4 degrees of Pisces in your eighth house, you may experience a much deeper level of intimacy in a personal relationship. Alternatively, someone could betray your trust, and if that happens, it is likely to feel like a blindside. Now, if you've been waiting for money from a scholarship, an inheritance, a commission, a legal action, it could finally come through around this time. Paying off a major debt is also a possibility. Or if you've been struggling to pay your bills, in an extreme case, this eclipse could coincide with a bankruptcy filing. Since this eclipse falls across your second and eighth houses, there could be a sudden or unexpected change in your income or outside resources. If you're Virgo rising or have 4 degrees of Pisces in your seventh house, there's a strong possibility that you'll experience a turning point in a close, personal, or professional relationship. And with Uranus involved, there's a good chance that you won't see it coming. Likewise, if you've been on the fence for some time about making or ending a commitment to someone, you could make a spur of the moment decision, or someone else could make that decision for you. And if that's the case, it'll probably throw you for a loop. Since this eclipse falls across your first and seventh houses, you may find yourself forced to decide between what someone else wants you to do and what you want for yourself. If you're a Libra rising or have 4 degrees of Pisces in your sixth house, if you've been waiting to learn the status of a job application or a transfer request, you're likely to find out now. And with Uranus involved, you could be asked to start almost immediately. Another possibility, though, is that a coworker or an employee, if you happen to be the boss, could suddenly quit without notice. If you've been experiencing an ongoing health problem, you may finally learn what's causing it. And whether you are or you aren't, you may decide to make a radical change to your diet or fitness routine. Since this eclipse falls across your 6th and 12th houses, you may reach a point where you need to set some boundaries about what you will and won't do for other people. If you're Scorpio rising, or you have 4 degrees of Pisces in your 5th house, well, single or partnered, an ongoing flirtation could suddenly turn into a full-blown romance. And with Uranus involved, you can meet somebody completely out of the blue who just sweeps you off your feet. There's a chance you may hear of a pregnancy or birth, or there could be a major development involving a child in your life. Since this eclipse falls across your 5th and 11th houses, something you've created could suddenly reach a much larger audience and possibly even put you in the spotlight. If you're Sagittarius rising or have 4 degrees of Pisces in your 4th house and there's been tension on the domestic front, it could come to a head now. It's also possible that a parent or other family member may need more of your attention around this time. There could also be a major change in your living situation. And with Uranus involved, it could be radical. Someone could suddenly move in or suddenly move out. Or you could decide to relocate, buy, sell, or rent a home. Since this eclipse falls across your 4th and 10th houses, it's possible that something happening at home or with your family could impact your career and force you to rethink your work situation, such as your hours, location, or responsibilities. If you have Capricorn rising or 4 degrees of Pisces in your 3rd house, and you've been negotiating the terms of an agreement, you could finally sign on the dotted line or decide to walk away from it. With Uranus involved, you could receive unexpected news involving a sibling, experience sudden car trouble, or find yourself dealing with a detour or road closure that interrupts your plans. You could also learn that a neighbor is moving away. Since this eclipse falls across your third and ninth houses, you could complete a course or training program, make an important decision about continuing your education, or finalize plans for a trip. If you're Aquarius rising or have 4 degrees of Pisces in your second house, you could experience a sudden change in your income. And with Uranus involved, it can go either way. You could get a raise or a higher paying job, or in extreme cases, you may get laid off or decide to say, hey, take this job and shove it. Another possibility is that you may suddenly realize that something that used to matter to you doesn't anymore. Or you could find yourself in a situation that forces you to choose who and what is most important to you. Since this eclipse falls across your second and eighth houses, you may decide to bite the bullet and buy an expensive item you've had your eye on for some time, even though you'll have to finance it. If you're Pisces rising or have 4 degrees of Pisces in your first house, this eclipse could mark a major turning point for you. And with Uranus involved, you may feel an urgent need for more freedom and independence, or a need to break free from something or someone who has been holding you back. In any event, you may make a significant decision that'll radically alter the direction of your life. It could also coincide with the completion of something that involves your physical appearance or health. Since this eclipse falls across your first and seventh houses, decisions and actions you take at this time could have an unexpected impact on a close personal or professional relationship. So there you have it, the eclipse through the 12 houses. Thanks for joining me. And if you enjoyed this episode of Astrology Unpacked, please follow or subscribe. And if you have a moment to leave a rating or review, I'd really appreciate it. I'll be back again next time with more Astrology Unpacked.